and welcome to Divine Horses and Humans. I'm Jason J. Divine. I am the dyslexic horse guy. So let's talk about dyslexia time. 5 to 9, 8:55 on the 25th of June 2025. So I'm getting better. This is my left, this is my right. I do get mixed up. I do repeat myself a lot, and I can't get my words out sometimes. So you're going to have to learn to deal with that. So let's get the boring bit out of the way, right? So let's say like, comment, share, subscribe, run and tell a friend, hit the notification bell, and this, that, and the other, and right. So if I keep doing the same thing, right, I'm always going to get the same result, right? Okay, and that's the same thing, right? And why do I say that's the same thing? Because I don't feel it influences anybody. Because what I feel, or I see, is you will use your own brain and you will make your own decision if you are going to subscribe, or you're going to like, or you're going to dislike, or you're going to click off, or whatever you're going to do, you're going to make your mind up, right? And that is what they would call programming, right? And I'm not going to do it because I just click over it because I get sick and tired of hearing it. And especially if I'm already subscribed or a member to that page, I don't want to constantly hear it. So it gets to the end where most people put it in on the middle, and I just skip over it because you'll make your own decision up. That's what you're here for, yeah? And this is what happens with horses. They run the same program and like, comment, share, subscribe all the time, like, comment, share, subscribe all the time. And the horse becomes dull to it. Like you will become dull to it. It's like me saying to you, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I keep repeating myself, I'm sorry, I keep repeating. Eventually, it's going to become worthless, isn't it? And you're going to go, yeah, I'm not interested anymore because that's all you say is sorry, right? So if we want something different, we have to do something different. So if we sort of look at this horse, right? So we're in a round pen. This is the Divine playlist, right? Her ears are back on me, right? And she's taking note of where I am, right? So she just turned her head. She knows I'm here, right? So what's going on here is she's not moving her feet, so that puts her in charge of what's going on in here because I'm moving my feet. And the horse that doesn't move its feet in the paddock is the horse that's in charge, okay? And 9 times out of 10, them horses that are in charge are mares. Right, and so what happens, and I see this over and over and over again in the British equine industry, worked in it for over 25,000 hours, that's over a decade. Spent a good 4 to 6 years in polo, and you've got to think that's just like working in the summer. It's not an all year round job, so I'd go and work in other disciplines in the winter, and if I told them that I came from polo, oh my God, everybody would start losing their mind. Because there's this other thing that goes on in the British equine industry, like the dressage people hate the eventing people hate the polo people just get on with what they're doing, they don't really care, right? But all the other industries really dish on the polo industry because the polo industry, they're doing something different. So once again, I'm still moving my feet, and she's just stood over there, quite level-headed, ears are back of me, she's got her right eye onto me. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go, no, I want that piece of territory you're on. I want that real estate where you're on. Right, so she's pointing that way, right? So I'm going to go, pay attention. I want my territory. Right, so we put a flag there, that's new. There's a piece of pipe there. Right, so you see how she spooked away from that, right? And this is good teaching, right? And this is what you have to be wary of, right? See how she goes sideways, right? So horses, very good at going forwards, backwards, up, down, and left and right. And that's what you have to be very wary of. So if we prepare her for stuff like that, right, this is not going to happen when we're at a event or we're at a competition and there's somebody standing in the crowd with a pink flag that says, "Go on, number one daughter, you're the best," and they're waving it like this, right? So by me just waving that, she picks up a gear because she's reading my body language, right? So we've picked up a gear, right? She's still looking at it, but she's not so worried about it. So what we're doing is using the sympathetic nervous system, right, to actually teach her something. So sympathetic nervous system, we are allowing her to move her feet, right, because they're a flight animal and they're loaded with this thing cortisol, because when I got after her there, right, she went into a flight mode because I was being predatory, right? So now she's sort of accept the flag. So we've got something going on, right? But I'm allowing her to move her feet, right? But here in the British equine industry, right, they do everything in their power to stop horses from moving their feet. And then they can't understand when it all goes wrong and the prey animal turns up and the horses, there you go, see, so we're working on something, right? She needs to get used to, that's why I change things around and I move stuff around in here and I fill this place up with stuff, so they get used to this sort of stuff. Because the more we expose them to stuff like this, right, and the more they can do it at their own free will and liberty, and without a human being interfering and pulling on the face and kicking them in the ribs and striping them on the arse and gizmos and gadgets on them, the less reactive the horse is going to be. It's going to be responsive, not reactive, because you're letting them use their brain and working it out. They're going through some kind of discomfort to find comfort. They are going through adversity to find the win. Because the industry, the British equine industry is just full of lies. Right, so now she's come in, so now we've got something going. Right, so now we're doing the Monty magic, yeah? Monty magic, yeah? Right, and we've got join up going on, or hook up, because we're doing Monty magic, and there's nothing magic about it. It's just how horses are set up, companionship, right? So, because that's what they're looking for, is leadership and companionship. So many people in the British equine industry are focused on the destination, right? They're not really bothered about the journey, and they're completely not worried about the companionship, the relationship, right? Because, you know, it's all about the ribbon, the rosette, the gong, the event, the journey, and this is just literally witchcraft, circus tricks, doping horses. So we're talking about the destination, and so the destination is for me to try and show you there's a better way, and trying to convince the British equine industry that there's a big hole, there's a problem, and this problem is called a foundation, because of the way that they are treating horses. They are treating horses literally like prisoners. And the more you treat a horse like a prisoner, right, the more they will start acting like prisoners, being disrespectful, being belligerent towards you, being aggressive towards you, because they've got nothing to do. Because they're just stood in a stable, all rugged up, all nice and shiny, smell lovely, jubbly and all of that. They're not actually allowed to be a horse anymore. That's been taken away from them. Because what's the point in bringing a horse in, standing him in a stable for 8, 12 hours a day? What's the point? The point is, it saves the fields, doesn't it? It saves the paddock. oh, we have to save the grass, because they're still doing stuff like they did it in a year dot. So I've probably told this story before because I repeat myself, and like, I had a lady call me that wanted me to go to an event and trailer load her horse, yeah? That's all I need you to do. And I was like, okay, right. Do you practice it? And she's like, sorry? I was like, do you practice it? Oh no, he's fine at getting on it when he comes back. And I was like, okay, excuse me. Right, so I took the ground from her because she disconnected from me. Right? So I started to work out his ex-race horse, and she's like, I don't understand why he won't leave. And I was like, what is it you actually do? She's like, oh, we're eventers. And I was like, okay. So if you've ever been to an event, it's like dressage, show jump, cross country. And they usually have these big estates and hundreds of horses, acres and acres and acres of land. And I said to her, you know, well, what reason has he got to leave? And she's like, what do you mean? I was like, what reason has he got to leave? And she's like, I don't understand. I was like, A, if he goes in the horse box, there's no one else in there, no? She's like, no. I said, so you're asking him to leave, right, but there's hundreds of horses around, right? And she's like, yeah. And I said, and there's hundreds and hundreds of acres them horses are filling up, yeah? Go on, good girl. Why would you want to leave? And I was like, who does he live with? And she's like, what's that got to do with it? I said, who does he live with? Oh, he lives with a little pony. I said, so you've only got 2 horses? And she's like, oh, yeah. And I was like, see, that could be another problem. If he's been in the racing game, he's come out of a big herd of horses, yeah? Like in the stable block or whatever, because that's another thing, that they're under this complete and utter illusion in this country about horses going out in 2s. You know, you only put horses out in 2s. And when you only put horses out in 2s, yeah, you get alpha and you get beta. You'll get a lead horse and a following horse, yeah? That's how it works. You're never going to change it. The lead horse is the lead horse and the following horse is the following horse. And so many people that I've worked for go, oh, I wish that horse was the dominant one at this, and you're never going to change it. You're never ever going to change it, because that's the way you've taken away. Go on, get round here then, get round here, right? You've taken away the herd environment, you've taken away the teaching, and that's the problem. So it's like, teaching takes patience, so a bit of patience, I'm going to have a drink, so you just got to be patient. And if you just skip that bit over, you need to learn patience. And that comes with age. Patience comes with age. So, if you were to have, let's say you work in the industry, or you've got your own horse or whatever, if you were to have a relationship like this with your horse on the ground, right, what else are you going to get done? Right, how's it going to look in the saddle? Because you're not going to have to pull on them anymore. They're going to do what you're asking them, and they're probably going to do it just as you think it. Because horses know what you're thinking before you've even thought it. And I think that's all to do with body language. And like I'm going to say, sympathetic nervous system, you need to go Google that. Get yourself some homework going. Google that, right, and Google cortisol. The conversation needs to be had, and it needs to be had in this country. Slow it up. Right, you want to slow it up or what? No, you still want to keep moving. Right, I'm going to let her move then. The conversation needs to be had about cortisol, serotonin, right, dopamine. Sympathetic nervous system. That's how horses learn, right? So if you've ever been in a situation where you're absolutely terrified for your life, right, and you've literally run away, right, you've gone into flight mode like a horse does, right? But there again, if you've ever been in a physical altercation that is called a fight, bosh, 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 right? And that's what everybody says they have with their horses, and they effectively are, because they drag on them, they do everything like this, they don't do it with lightness and finesse and light hands. they drag on them, they kick them here, and then they stripe them across the bottom. Who in that relationship is being the aggressor? The human. But that is the narrative you've been sold. That is the way, listen to me, that is the way you've been sold this narrative of how it works with horses and humans. So you're the one starting a fight. And when you do start that fight, because it's not an argument, because you're being physical with your hands, your leg, your crop, you're using violence effectively, right? You are going to go into a fight mode in your brain. Sympathetic nervous system, I said, go Google it, right? And then you will start fighting. And then the horse feels trapped because you're sitting exactly where a predator would go to kill them. And then it starts. And make no ifs or buts about it, you're the one that's having the fight. What the horse is trying to do is what you tried to do previous and go, I can't deal with this, I'm leaving. Right? So I'm leaving. Okay? Right? And if they can't leave, right, they're going to do everything in their power. They're going to do everything in their power to get you off. Because you are a predator, and when a predator attacks a horse, and we are predators, make no ifs or buts about that, they will go in front of the wither, just in front of their shoulder, clamp into their spine to paralyse them so they fall to the floor. You you strap a piece of leather on their back that's a saddle. What's a piece of leather? A dead animal. Leather bridle. What was a leather bridle? A dead animal. Everything is fundamentally wrong to them about us. But if you get the relationship going, you can get something good going. Because as I said, horses are very forgiving to human beings. Right, I want you in here. You need to calm down a bit. You see that? All that flick and the collection and the fanciness, that's dominance. Right, and when you see horses going into collection in the field, right, and they're all up on themselves, they're flirting or they're being bossy. Made themselves big, cortisol, right? And that is where collection comes from. And if you force them into it, you'll get it, but eventually they're either going to blow up on you and explode physically, or they're just going to go, I'm done with you, I ain't doing this no more. And that seems to be an accepted thing in the British equine industry, because I've come across so many horses that are like that. And I say, just to quickly finish it, one horse I came across that had been completely written off, been stood out in the field for years, and everybody said he was this, he was that, X-race horse, you'll never get this done, you'll never get that done. And the boss was like, I don't care what you do with him, you can do what you like with him. So I did. And one of the things that she specifically said, oh, you won't lunge him, you won't get him to lunge. Back it out. Come on. You won't get him to lunge. So I picked my gear up, started doing my thing. Within minutes, I had this horse lunging, right? First thing I had to do was lose the stick and the string because he didn't like it. So that said to me that somebody had probably beaten on him with a whip, right? So I was doing my thing and I got him to sort of lunge and do that, and then I was like, right, how can I convince this horse that he's not going to die? Because that's what he thought in his head, because that's what they all think, they're going to die because they're a flight animal, and Mother Nature's put a thing in there called self-preservation, and if you don't understand it, you just walk away from it. So I walked away from her, and like, that's what I'm saying, flight mechanism. So she's presenting me on the right, I want the left. So I'm going to go around to here, I'm going to look over there, I'm going to rub her here, correct way to catch a horse, like this, under here, get her to drop her head, get her to put her nose into it, see how she helps me, and then do your crown piece up. And really she should have her head in here. So let's check the bases. Right, we're good there. What we got here? Yeah, we're good there. We're good there. And they should just follow this feel from this rope. Look at the belly in that. Right, there's no need to drag to pull the face in. You are creating the argument. You are being aggressive, heavy-handed, yeah, violent. You have violent tendencies in you. Come here. But you've been taught to ride like that. So what I did with this horse, I did a lot of this, right? Because you can't do enough with this, with horses. And the boss there, that was, oh, horrible, horrible, horrible woman. Had a PhD, so she was more qualified than me, and she told everybody I was simple. He's a little bit simple. And I didn't really appreciate that. But she, once again, demanded to know how I got things done. And I was like, I didn't do anything, the horse did it. So I need you to turn, I need you to turn, I need you to turn. Get on with it. See, and watch this change. You watch, right? Because I did too much with the stick and the string with this mare. Watch. Right, let's lose the stick and the string, and then I've got something. And that's what it should be. It should be focused on me, our relationship, where I'm going, you're coming. It's a partnership, it's a relationship, and it's called a foundation. And it gets seriously overlooked in this British equine industry. Back up. Because they don't take it seriously, because it's a North American thing, and they seem to think everybody from North America doesn't know what they're talking about. And the Monty Magic, well, he's a fraud for starters, because there is something in broken people are good with horses, and I tell you why broken people are good with horses, because they have a thing called empathy, because they have experienced it. They've experienced the fear, the fight, the flight, the freeze. They've experienced it, and that's why they're good with horses, because they have this thing called empathy. So I could say to you, like, comment, share, subscribe, and run and tell a friend and all that jazz, but I'm not going to say that to you, because you're going to do what you're going to do. And if you're already here, with a bit of luck, you might do it, and a bit of luck, you might do it and not do it. But you've got your mind, and the only thing I'm going to ask you to do is to go Google the sympathetic nervous system and Google cortisol. If you want something to change with you and your horses, doing it, working it, whatever, sympathetic nervous system and cortisol. So that one, we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.